My name is Shantivani, and I want to share with you a little bit of how I got into this work. My business is Transforming Grief, LLC, and I operate out of Gainesville, Florida, but I work a lot on Zoom and with people all around the world. Just a little bit about my childhood. When I was very, very small, about 2 months old, my family moved to Africa, and I lived my first two years in Liberia and then 2 years in Ethiopia. So my first 4 years of life were in Africa, and it was all I knew. I had an older sister and a younger brother, and my older sister was very active and loved to play and kind of be the leader of the pack. Um, and so I was always trying to keep up with her as I was growing up. We came to the States, I guess, just before I was going into kindergarten, and I was probably 4 years old. My sister had a very tempestuous personality, and she was very upset that we were in America. She didn't really like white people, or it seemed like she was just very, very upset not to have her home that she had known for those years. And so I was kind of under a lot of stress being the mild-mannered younger sister, and I absorbed a lot of confusion and pain from having her as an older sister. I very soon um, took up with asthma, and I had such severe asthma as a young child that I could not lay down to sleep. I had to sit up. Uh, we couldn't have any books or toys or anything in my room, and my mom had to mop twice a day to keep the dust down. And so my lungs were very, very compromised, and it was very difficult for me. Um, I remember gasping for breath and just not knowing if I was going to catch the next breath. So it was really hard. And then when I was 7, I got rheumatic fever, and it was pretty serious. And I know that I had a sense that they thought I might not live. And so, yeah, so, but no one would talk about that. So, anyway, as I was growing up, I moved towards middle school and high school, and we had a lot of unrest in those days because it was in the 60s, and we had the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War and a lot of things going on. I do remember just lying in my bed as a teenager, feeling alone and crying a lot, and I just didn't even know why, but I was very sad, and I guess I was repressing a lot of grief that I didn't have any outlet for it. So, not going to go on too long, but I moved into young adulthood, not in really great shape, and I made some choices that were not really beneficial, and ended up in my 20s having 4 children with 2 different men, and none of it went very well. I'll put it that way. So after the fourth baby was born, very soon after, I was admitted into a mental hospital. I had been under such severe stress and different things. So I spent some time, about 10 weeks, in Westboro State Hospital in Massachusetts. And there I was mistreated really, with heavy drugs, injections, forced treatment, isolation, even straitjackets at times. And it was very, very painful. So when I got out of the mental hospital, I decided that I would never go back, and I would never go into the psychiatry world, because it just didn't make sense for me. And soon after that, I moved to Gainesville, Florida in 1979. And this is where I've been, and plan to spend my days. So, but anyway, I worked for 11 years as a respiratory therapist in a hospital from 2008 until 2020. And I found that because I wanted to help people breathe, I really liked that part, but I didn't really fit into the medical model very well. So I came out of that during that period from 2013 to 2018. I had 7 family members die in those 5 years, and it was a really tough time. And I just was not even able to deal with my grief. I just kept rolling and doing what I had to do. The same year, my daughter died with addiction and depression, 2015. I had to care for my mother because her Alzheimer's got to where she couldn't be left alone. So I ended up just sort of working nights in the hospital, taking care of mom with the help of my daughter, and doing the best I could. But the grief was really accumulating and not being dealt with. So after I left my job in 2020, I ended up going online and looking for grief support, and I did find the grief recovery method. So I was trained in that as a grief recovery specialist, but I soon moved away from that organization and created my own curriculum. And the one I'm teaching now is based on what I created in 2020 and 21, which I've been teaching and serving people with the information for these years. Anyway, I just want to say that I hope you will join me in this journey, and a little bit about the class. We do a 4-lesson program. So they're bi-weekly. So you have 2 weeks in between each class. Each class is, whether it's in person or on Zoom, each class is usually about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And each time we have homework assignments. So the reason we give it 2 weeks is because some people are really busy and it's hard to get to it. And I want to be sure that you have enough time to do the work and the homework. Don't be scared by the word homework. It's just an assignment where you explore your own inner world and do a little bit of writing, and you can keep it to yourself or you can share it as you wish. But based on the lessons that I'm giving, I give some little writing exercises and things like that. And the class, before you sign up, there is a pre-questionnaire that'll help me get to know you a little bit, and also registration form. And at the end of the class, there's a post-questionnaire, and that kind of helps me to see what you've learned. Also, sometimes I might ask if I could use some of your words as a testimonial for other people to see what it's about. It's important that everyone agree to complete confidentiality, emotional honesty, whether we're feeling angry, happy, sad, just being open and honest about our feelings, and mutual respect. And that means that we're not going to judge or criticize or advise or in any way try to fix one another. Each person just has a right to be listened to and supported, and none of us can really know what the other person needs. Also, it's important that you understand that I am not a mental health counselor. It's not grief counseling in that I don't have a counseling degree. I am a grief specialist or a transforming grief specialist, and I have been trained in that. But that this is not therapy and it's not counseling as such. It is education and support. So I want everyone taking the class to learn, one, how to manage and understand and deal with your own grief, but number 2, how to help others. What is helpful in responding to grief or supporting a person, what to say, what not to say, understanding the different kinds of grief, different kinds of reactions that we have and that others have. And, there's a whole lot of good stuff in the curriculum. But I'm not a counselor, so I just want to be sure that you understand that. When you sign the registration form, also there's a place for an emergency contact. So when we're on Zoom, we have to, it's important that I know your location. And in other words, if there was a seizure or an emergency of any kind, I would need to be able to tell 911 where you are. So I need your current phone number and your current location. So I've heard situations where people are on Zoom and they have no idea where the person is. So that's important. And it's really actually quite fun sometimes doing this work because we have some very creative things. We'll do some readings and some listening. We'll talk about transforming grief through the arts, which could be the language arts or visual arts or photography, painting, improv, rap. There's a lot of ways to express ourselves. And often artistic expression is really important. Does better than words sometimes. So this is just a brief introduction so that you'll have a little idea of what we're doing. And I will give you my email address here at the end, and please feel free to ask any questions. And I do hope you'll join us for Transforming Grief. Thank you.